Recording in progress. Upload. Welcome back. We are Bok Jinpa Course 3, Class 5, Master Kamala Shila's Bhavanakrama, Stages of Meditation. Please make a note that we'll have class next Wednesday, and then we'll be off until March 25th due to a variety of reasons. So we're not completing our course 3. We'll have 2 classes yet to go, but whatever we're working on with our meditation, you'll get really good at it. It's probably going to be an important one. So let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom, and see them there with you. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion. Their wisdom radiates from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize how the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. Deep down, we know this is possible. Growing our understanding of emptiness and karma, we glimpse how it's possible. And so we grow our wish into a longing. and our longing into an intention. And maybe even our intention into a determination. And with that state of heart, we turn our minds back to our precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to do yet, what we need to learn yet, to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please, 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 teach us that, teach me that, show me that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the pure world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kaunirya Tayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings totally awaken for the benefit of every single other. So last week we talked about the 4th meditation preliminary of the 6th, of which the 7 limb preliminaries are a part. And that 4th one, as you recall, was the Lama, the power of the Lama. And we worked a little bit on what is the Lama and what is their power. And so we're going to do a little bit more around that topic, which tells us of its importance. If Master Kamala Shila spends extra time on it and Lama Christie spends extra time on it, there must be a reason. So let's gather our minds here. Let's settle in for our first session. Get your body set. And determine for it to be still. Once you have your body set, you bring your concentration to your breath. Turning your focus to those sensations at the nostril. Adjusting clarity. Turning on the intensity. How much effort are you making to keep that mind bright and clear on that object? It's easy to get sloppy. Lama reminded us that there's a resonance that gets set up when a group is meditating together, actually doing anything together. When we are all on our object, it's easier for each of us to stay on that object. So let loose the focus on your breath to get a feeling, an idea that we are all connected as a group right now. Even as we seem to be only together on this Zoom link, energetically, it's as if we are all in the same room together. And so think of if we were all sitting almost elbow to elbow, we would more easily recognize that the quality of my mind's attention is contributing to this influence on everyone's mind on their object. So now go back to focusing on your breath with this added dimension of doing it powerfully in order to contribute to the power of the group, each of us able to turn on that mind of single-pointed focus. Try it again. Check. Honor of the object. Correct. Clarity. Correct. Intensity. Correct. Now intentionally let go of that breath as the object and turn your mind inward to settle that mind into that exquisite, beautiful, special place you have been developing. Sink down into that Holy of Holies. And you find you are there with your mother on your left, your father on your right, holding their hands. And everyone you know are there with you, sitting behind the three of you. And they are all listening to you, alert for what you are going to show them, what you are going to teach them. Now picture your most perfect, holy, enlightened angel Lama there in front of you and all the rest. See them clearly or feel them clearly there with you. They are gazing at you, and you are looking deeply into their eyes. Everyone there with you is feeling this experience you are having. They are experiencing that precious holy being through you. Feel your love for them. Feel your devotion. Your reliance. And that's teaching all those others with you. Think of all that this holy being has given you. Feel your gratitude. And now, for the benefit of your mom, your dad, and all those beings there with you who are counting on you to lead them on this path someday, review in your meditating mind why this being before you must be a fully enlightened being. As if those there with you are hearing your explanation to yourself. We'll sit 4 minutes. I'll say check from time to time. You do your own exploration analysis. Check. Check. Nice. Now let go of that. Look at the faces of all those beings with you. They've learned something. See how happy they feel. Look at the face of your precious angel. See how happy they are with you. Make a dedication that these seeds that have been planted will grow to bring about the end of suffering for every existing being. And then bring your mind up out of that special place into awareness of this body in this room. Wiggle your hands and feet a little, and then when you're ready, open your eyes, come out, take a stretch. So how did you do with your logic about why that being before you is a fully enlightened angel being made of love, made of compassion, made of wisdom? Were you convinced? Were the people around you all convinced? All right, I see a lot of yeses. Good job. Did anybody go blank? Did anybody go like, I didn't start down this train? No, no. Then this one? No, no. Then that one. There are a lot of different avenues we could go. We're also well trained, right? You know how to go. If this, then that. If that, then this. Then this, then this, then this. But therefore, ta-da. And that's the idea of that meditation, was to be really clear in our minds about how we come to that conclusion. This being is my holy angel. But then, are we misunderstanding ourselves when we say the words? Right? Are we taking them to be something, them? There's so many ways to say it. Them really a Buddha. Like that's what we were coming to the conclusion, right? They are a Buddha. But, right, if they're, oh, they are a Buddha in them, from them, independent of my projections. There is no such thing. No, my special Buddha. No, Shakyamuni Buddha. There is no independent of my karmic seed Buddha, is there? But like, watch your own mind when you answer that. It sure seems like there is one independent of my projection, like the one you project. But does that exist for me? Sure, it does if I know you're projecting it. But then which one exists for me? Your projection of them or my projection of you projecting them? See, it gets so slippery so fast. And, all these holy lamas, when we say, oh, it gets so slippery so fast, they go, duh, right? Right. That's proof. That's not proof. Okay. So when we are in meditation, we have the freedom to, to see that being as absolutely, totally perfect in every way. Right? It's our imagination, it's our meditation time. Just go for it. It doesn't matter if when you're out of your cushion, you go, that wasn't realistic. They're not really like that. In our meditation, we're only limited by our belief that we're limited. Okay? And with the exquisite training that we've received about what it is to be a fully enlightened being, we have enough information to create this really exquisite one. Not just what they look like, but what they're made of, right? Trillions of virtuous deeds motivated by love and compassion and wisdom. And so everything about them reveals all these good qualities. And we can just go through sequentially what all those good qualities are showing up as in this visual representation of them. And we learn the details of that kind of visualization later, but we don't have to wait till then. They can be as beautiful as you like. Mm. So Lama Christie shared the sequence of thoughts that she uses. It does not mean it's the only one, but she always starts with just saying to herself, are there enlightened beings in the world? And it's like, if we say yes, we can go on with her sequence. If we say, well, I don't really know, then we would go in a different direction. So I'm going to assume we all say, yes, I believe there's at least one Shakyamuni Buddha, right? The one that we have the records about, the teachings from. And then he tells us he had a teacher. Okay, so well, then there must be two. And that one's going to say, well, I had a teacher too. Okay, so there must be three, right? So that's one way to go, that there are Buddhas in the world. So if there are fully enlightened beings, do fully enlightened beings have the power to emanate? And I find that wording a little bit off, because it's not that they have the power to emanate. Their qualities of enlightened being spontaneously emanate. So if there are enlightened beings, there are emanations of enlightened beings, because that's part of what it is to be an enlightened being. We know the four bodies: paradise body, emanation body, omniscient body, and emptiness body. So if there's Buddha, there are emanations of Buddhas. So if there is a fully enlightened being and they are emanating, would they necessarily be emanating to me? What is it to be a fully enlightened being? Omniscient, perceiving emptiness and appearances of all existing things simultaneously all the time. Am I an existing thing? Say it to yourself. We're not talking about me, we're talking about you. Say to yourself, am I an existing thing? Yes, that's about the only thing we know for sure, right? I am. So if you are an existing thing and there is a fully enlightened being in the world, do they know you? They have to. And if you are an existing thing in the world, do they then have to be emanating to you? Yes, don't they? They're emanating to every existing thing to be what that existing thing needs. So is that enough proof to say this one that I have in my mind's eye is that being? Mm, you could say, well, not quite. But on the other hand, we are intentionally bringing to our mind's eye a mental image of a being who for us would look like that if for us they showed up as that. We're just imagining what it might be. Does that negate the fact that whatever is appearing to me is a Buddha's emanation? Just the fact that I'm making it up, right? My mind's going, yes, it negates the fact, but it can't negate the fact because anything I'm experiencing, right, logically is an emanation of a Buddha. So even my imagination of that being as a Buddha, that's an emanation as well. We go, oh, as an imaginary thing. Yeah, but technically, we'll get there later. Everything I experience is an imaginary thing, but we'll get there later. So we're still trying to track down how our mind is trying to show ourselves that this being that we're holding in front of us must be a fully enlightened being. And do you notice how your mind's saying, well, not the one that's in my imagination, but the one that that imagination pertains to, who's the real thing outside of me. That one's the real Buddha. This one in my mind, that's not. I'm just imagining, right? Because just imagining doesn't make them there, does it? Or could it? So still, right? My logic thing is right going like this. So let's pull it back. If there's Buddhas and Buddhas are omniscient and they emanate, then if there's somebody that I see in my world, imagined or not, who my perception is that they they know what I need and they're willing to help me with what I need, right? And they teach me about what I need, then could I say that they are the highest of my ripening karma? If I see a being who can teach me about karma and emptiness and say to me, look, you're meant to stand on a billion worlds and love every existing being, into happiness. Would that be a powerful goodness ripening? Yes. So if my seeds are ripening in that powerfully goodness way, wouldn't I perceive that, right, as a being who has these qualities that I'm perceiving them as having? And like, be careful there, because yes, I'm seeing the being with those qualities. And my misperception is seeing them with those qualities in them, which they don't have in them from them. But my seeds are ripening so exquisitely that I see them as this real being with these real qualities. And so I rely upon them. I devote myself to them, right? I surrender to them. How does that help me? Because to see them in that powerfully high way makes them a powerful karmic object for me. Whether they see themselves as that or not is actually immaterial. It's how we see them. And when we see them as this powerful karmic object, then everything we think, say, and do towards them are powerfully planted seeds that can move us along our path more swiftly than the same interactions with a being who we are perceiving as not infinitely loving, infinitely compassionate, infinitely wise. Even if that other being we are seeing as extraordinarily loving and wise, right? The power of the seed planted is where the Lama gives us the power. The Lama doesn't give the power. Our own understanding of this being gives us the power for them to give us the power to use them in that power as powerful karmic objects. And that's what they want. So that we make our behavior choices in these powerful new ways because of what they've taught us, that we'll listen to them and we'll follow their advice because we understand that they had to do the same thing to become these holy beings, right? Even how can I say this? The them we see as fully enlightened was at one time not fully enlightened. And they had to purify and make merit to become fully enlightened. And that's why we can know that they know what I need to do, because they had to do it themselves. Which one is it for me that had to do it themselves? Right? The one that's there for me, unique to me. The them from their side, yeah, until I'm omniscient, I won't actually know, will I? So there is no them, the Buddha, with the power to just bonk us on the head and say, see me as a Buddha, for crying out loud. If they could, they would. They're probably doing it all the time, bonk, bonk, bonk. And we just either stop noticing or, right, don't recognize. Because if we don't have the seeds to perceive them in this high way, it doesn't matter whether they see themselves as Shakyamuni Buddha or a gnat. It depends, right? They can't make us see them any differently. So then how can they help? Right? How, if I've never seen a Buddha before, can I imagine one with sufficient power to plant the seeds with sufficient power to ever become one? If they have any kind of self-existent nature of being those good qualities, we couldn't ever get there. But the fact that their goodness is coming out of our own seeds means we're already so close. Just to entertain the idea that a Buddha is my karmic ripening. Cool. So back to the imagined one. Are they Buddha? You have to say, well, according to whom? So yes, no, both, neither. Right. Which is why, didn't we conclude last time, my Lama's a Buddha because I need them to be so that I can learn from them, so that I can plant my seeds powerfully with them, so that I can see the aspects of me that I can't see. They get to show me, and then I can work with them and overcome. I need somebody to be a fully enlightened being for me. But then, well, then why isn't like the rabbit and the ant and the apple on the tree, why aren't they all Buddha? But you see, they all could be, couldn't they? Manifest, not even could be, they all are technically. But it's like a big leap to go from, oh, there are Buddhas in the world. Therefore, the ground I walk on is the Buddha, the air I breathe is the Buddha. We can't jump there. Most of us can't. So, like one comes out of us as extraordinary. I had this sweet friend years ago, and we were studying the ACI together. She not as seriously as Samadhi and I, but she went to the Uttara Tantra teachings at the YMCA, and she saw Geshe Michael for the first time. He like walks into the room and she goes, "Oh, there's Buddha." And I'm looking at Geshe Michael and it's like, whoa, what's she seeing that I'm not seeing? Because it was so spontaneous out of her. That really blew me away. Right. And right, it still happens. People, right, see him that way. And others of us don't. And it's not that one's right and one's wrong. Right? It's proof that our ripening mental seeds color our experience. And then we behave according to our experience in the moment. And the way we behave either perpetuates, well, the way that we behave perpetuates what we experience. So if we want to experience that being differently, then we behave differently, even before we see them as different. In order to see them as different, when those seeds of behaving towards them in this higher way ripen. When are those going to ripen? Next week, next month, next lifetime? It's like you keep it up until they ripen. How long do I have to see them as my holy angel? Like until you and they are both holy angels spontaneously without having to stop and think about it. Well, how long is that going to take? As long as it takes. As many seeds as you need is how long it will take. Maybe it's one. Maybe it's 7 lifetimes, right? We don't know, but it has to happen. When you get those seeds being planted in this profound way, there's no going back if you want to. And that's partly the power of Diamond Way, right? Is when we get properly prepared and we do our part. The seeds that we're planting are seeds on this trajectory, moving us towards our goal. And we may be saying, oh, I need it to happen in this lifetime, or I need it to happen next week. But it's the same deal. Just plant, plant, plant. Don't worry about the result because it's gonna happen. It has to happen because of the way we're planting the seeds. So all that impatience and, oh, woe is me, it can all just be ditched. The thing is, it sneaks back in, right? As things in life get hard. All right. So Lama reminds us that just as we're getting our logic down so clear that, oh yeah, this being really is a Buddha. And even when we say really is a Buddha for me, I'm going to devote myself to them. Like the next time we get close to them, they do something very not Buddha-like. And it pushes our conviction. And it's not like they sit around thinking, how am I going to get Sarani to push her conviction? It's all happening. Uh, uh, it's all happening effortlessly because it's all driven by my own seeds and my own doubts and etc. So it's wonderful that the lamas warn us about that, but then it sounds like they're making excuses. Like if you're talking to your lama about it and they say, look, okay, I'll take you as my student. And they say, but recognize that you're going to wake up one day and not see me as so special. And that'll be up to you to work on. And we go, well, wait a minute. Why would a Buddha say that? They're perfect. They can't fib. They can't, right? We'll start questioning. And that's technically the purpose for our own mind, is to show us all the nooks and crannies where we're still clinging to a me, because their task is to get in there and yank out all of our clinging to me, self-existent me. Okay. So, are they a fully enlightened being or aren't they? What if there they are and nobody else is perceiving them? Right? Okay. So, mm,
Geshe-la would say you can't tell if they are and you can't tell if they aren't.
exactly. Exactly. And that's where we're going, is to get to that conclusion and then be able to live in that conclusion, and then therefore come to the conclusion, then I will interact with them as if they are a fully enlightened being, right? Because I can't tell whether they are or they aren't, I will act towards them as if they are. And that it's hard enough to do that with one being. But as we habituate to it, then son of a gun, you start doing it with another one. And then another one. And it becomes more and more habituated to everyone you interact with is some version of your holy lama, your holy lama angel. And that's what it is to be in the mandala, actually. Like everything you interact with is that lama's manifestation. They look like they're limited to this one being. But as we're learning that we ourselves are not limited at the edge of our skin, of course, neither is our Buddha Lama, right? The one we see appears to be limited in that way. But why can't they be the beautiful tomatoes in the grocery store? And then it's like, well, what do we do with that? Do I eat tomatoes? Yes, of course, they want you to eat them. Yeah, yes, of course. And then it gets a little bit, again, a little bit squirrely about how we interact with everything as our holy angel, Lama. And then when we can't do it, because I don't know about you, but right in my mind, I set it up in the morning, and then by time I've gone to the bathroom, I've forgotten that it's hard to maintain it, especially when something goes the way you don't like it, because we so habitually, they're doing that to me. And our mind wants to go, my holy angel would never do that to me. Would they? Yeah, maybe that's exactly what they would do. Why? To hurt me? Because they hate me? No, because they love me and they're right. Anyway, you're getting the idea. So where Lama Christie went with that was, suppose you're driving down the road late at night, it's a dark night, and you see something dart in front of the car. You're sure it's a mouse. You slam on the brakes. It's a leaf. What, right? What just happened? Was there a mouse there when you slammed on your brakes? Did the mouse turn into a leaf? Which one's more real now that you've got your car stopped and you're staring at the leaf? Which one's more real, the mouse or the leaf? What does your mind say? The leaf, because there it is, there it is, there it is. The other thing that was a mouse for the instant turned out not to be a mouse at all. It was really a leaf blowing across. But is that accurate to say it's not a mouse, it was a leaf all along? Was the mouse a valid perception? Yes. We weren't drunk, we weren't high. We saw a mouse, that's why we slammed on the brakes. We don't slam on brakes for a blowing leaf. Maybe we should. So, in the moments that we perceived a mouse, we were having valid perception mouse there. One moment. But then what happened? That valid perception gave way to a new valid perception, leaf. And along with the leaf valid perception is some kind of belief then that the mouse was a misperception, right? Oh, there was no mouse there. I misperceived mouse. It was really leaf. Valid perception mouse turns into a recognized misperception mouse with the therefore not misperception leaf. But is the leaf is now our current valid perception. Is that or is that not also a misperception? Somebody commit themselves. Are we seeing the leaf as, oh, it's really a leaf? I just thought it was a mouse. It's really a leaf. Now it's a leaf because now it's still a leaf, still a leaf, still a leaf, still a leaf. That confirms that it's a leaf and so always was a leaf. And so therefore the mouse, valid at the moment, was misperceived. The leaf, valid at the moment, and this moment, and this moment, and this moment. Is it also being misperceived? If we're not perceiving its emptiness and dependent origination simultaneously with leaf, we are misperceiving it, aren't we? In the same way that we were misperceiving the mouse. No, it's not the same way at all, but it is the same way. Is Master Kamalashila pointing this out? And we won't get that from just the reading without Lama Christie's explanation of what this reading is trying to really point out. So when you're reading the reading about omniscience and the blockers to omniscience, he just gives these couple of one-liners. If we have blockers to omniscience, and if you remove the blockers to omniscience, you'll be omniscient. And it's like, what it means to have blockers to omniscience is this mouth leaf thing. I thought it was a mouth. It was valid as a mouth. Then I have valid perception leaf along with the valid perception that my mouse was a mistaken perception. And then I hold my leaf to be a leaf from its own side, which makes the leaf a misperception, also just a different kind. But it isn't really a different kind in the end, because the valid perception of the mouse, although that made mouse there for us, was also a mouse in it from it. So even the valid perception was misperceived, even if it stayed a mouse, it was misperceived. And all of that valid but misperceived, is it because there's something mistaken in the mouse or something mistaken in the leaf? What mouse, what leaf? It's something mistaken in the mind of the experiencer of the valid perceptions that are mistaken. So, in ACI, we went round and round about valid perceptions. When we first learned about valid perceptions, we kind of assumed that to have a valid perception was a correct perception. And Geshe Michael let it lie all the way up. Little clues in ACI 6 Diamond Cutter. But we didn't really get to that discussion about valid versus correct until we were at like ACI 15, a little bit in 13, but not until 15. Before the punchline is we have valid perceptions all the time because we're not high, we're not drunk, but we've never had a valid correct perception until we perceive emptiness directly. You could take that a little bit further and say, we don't have a valid, correct perception until we perceive emptiness and dependent origination simultaneously, because that's really how things are existing, not just as empty, because you have to have a thing that's empty of self-existent. So you have to have both to have either one, don't we? So maybe we don't ever have valid, correct perceptions until we're omniscient. The scripture doesn't say that. They say valid, correct. The first one we have is direct perception of emptiness. So hooray for that. The point is, part of the point is, there are different levels of understanding of what's misperceived about those valid perceptions according to the level of teachings we've received about it. Okay? We have a mind, perhaps we have a mind that's capable of listener level comprehension, or perhaps we have the seeds to be capable of self-made Buddha quality realization, or perhaps we have the seeds to have Mahayana level understanding that puts us at mind only level, or lower middle way level, or highest middle way level. And where, as we learn all those different levels of understanding of what is meant by the misperception, we can catch ourselves doing them and respond differently so that we can plant our seeds differently, so that we can understand differently, so we can move ourselves along our wisdom path. Okay, let's take our break. Okay, so how does our example of the mouse leaf pertain to our perception of this holy being, our Lama? Valid perception mouse, valid perception leaf, valid perception, oh, I was mistaken about that mouse. Valid perception leaf, valid perception roadway, valid perception parking lot, valid perception door to my apartment, right? Shifting, 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 shifting. What about the Lama? The Lama, fully enlightened being Lama, who one moment looks, acts ordinary, next moment looks, acts extraordinary, next moment isn't even there. Who knows? Is it different? Is our valid perception them, normal human being, more or less correct than our valid perception them, fully enlightened being, extraordinary love? Is one more real than the other? Maybe we perceive that extraordinary love, compassion, wisdom most clearly when we're in our meditation and we're meeting with them there in our Holy of Holies of our heart. And then we open our eyes and they're picking their nose. And we like close our eyes and they're perfect again. And we open our eyes and like, which one's more real? Yeah, neither. If we mean by real, in them, from them. Oh, so there's no real Lama there at all, right? No, wrong. There is the Lama there. There is, we're having valid perception. There is an existing thing. Our valid perception, if it does not include their emptiness and dependent origination, then it's mistaken, even if even if we, right, no matter how we're seeing them. If we're not seeing their emptiness, we're mistaken. Maybe we can not be seeing their emptiness, but not believing in their self-existence, and we might be closer to correct. That would be if we have seen emptiness directly and are now out of it, right? But until then, any moment of experience of that Lama is valid and misperceiving, mistaken, because we're believing that the qualities and actions that we see in them are somehow coming from them. And that's mistaken. The qualities and actions we see them doing is coming from our seeds ripening. Our seeds ripening, making us perceive what we are perceiving as them and their actions. What do we do with that? So that's valid. We can interact with these lamas as valid perceptions, understanding that we're misperceiving. We're taking them to be self-existent when they're not. I can still interact with them. And so we might say, okay, I'm just going to interact with my valid perception of them. When they're normal human, I'll interact with them as normal human. When they are looking holy, I'll interact with them as holy. What's wrong with that? We're never going to get anywhere because our valid perceptions will just keep being mistakenly responded to. And so we'll replant the seeds for seeing them being this constantly shifting, ordinary, mean, loving, kind, special, ideal. And our seeds won't ever reach the point where every shifting moment of them is more and more exquisite. Is that going to happen from them? No, it might look like it, but we create that by how we respond to this them now, them now, them now, them now, regardless of whether they appear as ordinary, kind, loving, mean, it doesn't matter. Our task is to respond to them in ways that will plant seeds that will ripen more and more pure world, which probably is going to start with seeing them in a more and more pure way before we start seeing the rest of our world or even ourselves more and more purely. It might be a clue to our practice about how much more extraordinary our Lama is getting as we are carefully interacting with them in this way that understands their empty nature. And so I will choose to hold them as a fully enlightened being so that they are a powerful karmic object for me, so that when I offer them those flowers, I am creating my Buddha paradise, not just getting flowers in the future. It's our mind that establishes all of that, as proven by the mouse in the leaf. Interesting. So when we do a meditation where we've got that Lama before us and we are like thinking about their amazing qualities, the more we do a meditation like that, the more we can also imagine what it would be like to have those same amazing qualities. So like as we're thinking about the Lama, wow, they're omniscient. What do you suppose that mind is like, their omniscient mind? Seeing the emptiness of all existing things and all existing things, like all things? How many is that? Where are all those things? Where we get this mental image we're building up, a feeling of what maybe it's like to be omniscient. And as we're just thinking about their experience, we get a little glimpse into it. And that glimpse can grow. It's influencing our own mind seeds so that every time we come back and do the good qualities of the Lama, they get a little easier to bring to mind. And we plant seeds to feel them, right? To get a glimpse of what it might be like. So we have these different qualities, their omniscience, their holy great compassion, right? Which they wrap into that love. Let's call it holy great love. We don't ever talk about it that way, but we could. Their paradise being, what that would might be like, and their emanation being, right? We have all these different qualities that we could sit with them, that our own mind is giving them those qualities. And as we imagine them having them, we're imagining what they're like, because we don't know unless you're one of them. We have to think about it and try it on for size and see what it's like. And well, that's not quite big enough. All the while we're doing that, we are planting seeds in our mind for those qualities to be seen in us. By whom? By ourselves and by other beings. Oh, that's creepy, right? I'm not trying to make you see me as omniscient, but yes, I am, right? I want to become a Buddha for the sake of all sentient beings. It's not prideful to say, I'm trying to plant the seeds in my mind so every existing being in the world, when they when they interact with me from their side, and I see them interacting with me from my side, their experience is ultimate love, ultimate compassion, wisdom. That's what we say. We want to be Buddha. Then we are out to grow that. Hmm? The lamas say our minds not only have the capacity for omniscience, we only don't experience our own mind as omniscience because we have blockers to it, which is a little different than saying we have to create the seeds for omniscience. It's not saying we already are omniscient, but it's saying that if we can just remove these blockers, omniscience is what comes next. And those blockers, of course, are our belief in things having their own nature. And then the remnants of those past beliefs, once we no longer see the world that way. But they're just blockers. And to understand that is a big shift, actually, in our seed planting and seed ripening, because it makes omniscience seem not so far away, not so impossible. Lama Christie would say again and again, there's really no reason why we shouldn't be directly aware of every mind and every experience in every mind, because it's all our seeds ripening anyway. Right? We just have blockers to being aware of all the seeds that are ripening and being planted in any given moment. So your reading's going to be talking about omniscience and these blockers to omniscience. And last class we did a meditation where we were looking for the line between the outside of our body and the inside of our body. And hopefully you explored that a little bit as well. And hopefully it also became pretty clear that what we call outside our body, my breath outside my body, is a mental image, things outside my body, and inside my body is a mental image inside my body, which would mean if you went looking for the line between the two, you would find, well, that's simply a projection happening as well, that I can't actually find the actual line, because everywhere I think I find it, I can still divide it a little bit into front, back, middle. And so we actually can't find a dividing line between inside and outside, can we? No, we project one, and then we function as if it is a real line between me and you, right? Those of us who are studying Master Shantideva are talking about equalizing and exchanging self and others, and it touches into this idea of where does me end and you start. It does not mean, however, that in the end, we're just one big blob of existence with one big blob of a mind. Because if that were true, the instant one part of that blob got fully enlightened, all parts of the blob would experience it the same way. As soon as we separate pieces of the blob, it means there can't be one. All, we can talk about all, each one's contribution to the all. But often, the word that comes up as we're getting close is, oh, I really am all one because it's all this mind. And even Mind Only School says there's nothing that exists outside of your mind. So come on, there is just this one mind, right? Wrong. Yeah. Mm. So Master Kamala Shila points out that this idea or experience, there's a me here and there's another over there. Uh, that's a subject state of mind perceiving an object, whether that object is perceived as having a state of mind or it's an object that's inanimate, that this subject state of mind for ordinary beings is always necessarily also projecting that self and other have their own independent existences, independent of the perceiver's mind seeds ripening. He says he knows that we don't think that there's anything that exists totally independently of anything else. Everything has causes or parts, but he knows we're not automatically understanding that when we say something exists self-existently and we negate it, what we mean is that there could be anything that exists outside of our own mental seed ripening. But then when we say, oh, okay, so nothing exists outside my own mental seed ripening, that like a very automatic conclusion is, well, then I'm the only thing that really exists. Everything else is my ripening projections because we somehow automatically think ripening projections are less real than when they weren't known to be ripening projections. And that's part of our misperception. Because has there ever been anything that we've experienced that's been outside of our seed ripening that experience? No, impossible. So all those things that we thought were things that were existing outside of our mind seeds ripening were actually mind seeds ripening. We just didn't know it. But they always were. So now when we're recognizing, oh, nothing is anything but a projection, when we understand, that would make things more real, not less real. And the same for our own sense of self. Our self-existent me would become less real. And our me as part of the projection in this constant shape-shifting would become more and more real. So when we say, first I saw a mouse and it was a real mouse, and then I saw the leaf, and now the leaf is the real leaf, and so the mouse was mistaken, right? Keep that in mind. And then when we go into meditation and we have a lama that we see in the flesh and we take them into our meditation. And now when we're seeing them in our meditation, we're seeing their skin glowing in light and this, more expression in their face and maybe their body made of jewels. And we think, well, my real lama is that flesh and blood lama. And this one that I'm having in my meditation, that's my imagined lama. And we come out of the meditation and our mind naturally thinks, you know, that was really cool that time I spent with my imagined lama, but my real one is this one. And that's like saying, now that I'm staring at the leaf, right, there's no such thing as the mouse. The mouse is gone, but when it was mouse, it was really mouse. And when it's leaf, it's really leaf because it's never really either one. And that's the same for the lama. So when we have a ripening experience, that ripening experience can be the ripening experience of the lama flesh and blood. And it can be a ripening experience of lama body made of light. And both of them are mental images ripening. They both have the same quality, right? Existential quality. So neither one can be said to be more real than the other. The one we're experiencing at the moment is the valid, correct or not, depending on how we're experiencing them. And they can be this one, and then that one, and then that one, and then that one. Not just they can be, they are, instant by instant. It's a miracle when we have some consistency, right? They look like body of light. They still do. They still do. They still do. Wow, right? We did something really extraordinary to be able to sustain that, right, over a period of time. And so it's not at all surprising when that we something shifts and it's like, oh my gosh, right? They've got a hole in their pants. Like, how can that be? An angel couldn't ever have a hole in their pants. Right? But it's just our seeds shifting. They haven't shifted. Right? What's wrong with that? What they? There isn't a they. Right? There isn't a they that can't shift, and there isn't a they that can shift. So there is a they who's shifting constantly, which is how they can be our holy lama for us, our holy angel for us. And the same is true for us, right? Constantly changing mental seeds perception of oneself, let alone how we perceive other beings perceiving us. Makes it all possible. We get these glimpses of what we're really trying to do as we dig in this way. So Master Kamala Shila, in the reading, he's going to say, he goes through the different levels of understanding of selflessness that Lord Buddha taught from the early teachings up to the highest teachings. And again, he just does them in these one sentences. Right? They're clear when we know what he's talking about, but they seem cryptic. And when he gets to the section where it says, and there Buddha taught to some people that everything is their own mind, right? He doesn't say mind only school. He says, and there are people who came to understand that everything is in their own mind. And he says, as we grasp the fact that not as we grasp the fact, as we experience an object so deeply that our meditative concentration becomes single pointed on the object What that means is the mind is so engaged in that object that nothing else can appear to it, including its sense of self. So our lineage is careful to say when we meditate on the candle flame, you don't ever merge and become one with the candle flame. But single pointed concentration on this candle flame will feel as if there is only candle flame. No me perceiving candle flame to the exclusion of all else because candle flame takes over everything. We're not going to meditate on candle flames because it's not powerful karmic object. We meditate on our Lama. What if we meditate on our Lama with such single-pointed focus that we have no self-perceiving Lama, but just Lama? Imagine the seeds being planted. So he says, when we get to that level of, call it penetration, to the object of meditation, and the object of meditation is the selflessness of the object of meditation, that we will reach non-duality. Like what that is non-duality. And he says this funny thing. When somebody is experiencing that, not in it, but after it, he says they use the word non-duality. But then, Geshe-la and Lama Christie point out that when we hear the word non-duality, because we're thinking of two self-existent things that become one self-existent thing, we're misunderstanding non-duality. That he's saying when subject object lose their distinction between them as two separate things, to be able to describe that, one will naturally use the word non-duality. And then the point is, somebody hearing them say that will misunderstand it and say, oh, everything becomes one because that's what non-dual means. But it doesn't mean that here. It means that for there to be an appearance, it must lack its self-nature. There can be no lack of self-nature without a thing that has no nature. So it takes both to have both. It takes both. You can't even say both to have either, because there's no such thing as either. There's only the non-duality, but it's not one thing, because one thing wouldn't need these two. Right? It's like we can't really get it conceptually. We try to, and we go, oh, that's it. And if we leave ourselves at, oh, that's it, we will get stuck at some subtle level of misperception. Because the conclusion we always want to land in is, oh, that's not it either. Do you remember when you go looking for the thing that gets the label, you won't find it? It doesn't say you won't find anything. You will always find something more subtle getting a label. It's a process. So we can't ever come to an explanation that says, this is it. And if we think we have it, keep chewing on it. And it's so hard to rest in this conclusion, oh, I can't get to the conclusion. And that's the conclusion. Because our mind wants something concrete instead of this nebulous whatever. And it's only because of our seeds, right? Some of you will go, oh, I get it. I've been struggling against that nebulous conclusion, thinking I had to have it concrete. have at it. But most of us that need a final answer concrete, just it's like, oof, right? My forehead's flat. We're beating it against the wall, thinking now I've got it. Oh no, that can't be it. But it's fun. So any line that we think we can find between this and that, past, future, far, near, we our mind is making lines between those things for functionality. But when we go looking for the functionality that comes from those distinctions, we find that there's no such thing as that functionality independent of our mind seeds ripening a functionality happening. So, yeah, we need to do another meditation. Yeah. Mama Christie went into mind only school with the constructs and other powered things to help us investigate that. But if I do that, I won't have time for the second meditation. And she really wants us to do both of these meditations, the Lama and then this investigation. So let's do the meditation first. And then if we have time or if you want to stay a little later, I'll do the mind only thing for you. But let's do the meditation. So set your body in. Bring your attention to your breath to settle your mind in. And this time, watch as that exhale gently extends longer with each exhale. Let the inhale go by itself. Now let go of that as the object of focus and listen to my instructions. Bring to mind some recent pleasant memory, something from yesterday or the day before. And consider how our minds think of this event. We think, I remember yesterday. I remember there in that class listening. I remember what I was wearing. I kind of remember what I was feeling. Now see if you can find the part of your awareness of that memory that holds that that event happened like that, actually happened. We are remembering something that we did. When you can find that belief about that memory, check to see if that belief is true. Or is it a gotcha, a thing that exists as something other than my current mind seeds ripening? Does that experience that I had yesterday still exist somewhere? And I'm reaching my mind through the ethers to connect to it? Can our mind reach into the past and find something? Think of the memory again. What valid perception are you having right now? It's a valid perception of a memory, but is it a valid perception of that event that happened and is gone? Does our valid perception of this memory, can we confirm in any way that that event actually happened? If the event is no longer happening, there's nothing to confirm. We are having current moment ripenings of something called memory that is a current experience, not a memory of something past experience. We actually have no way of knowing if this memory we are holding actually happened. Not that it didn't, but not that it did. Try to stay in that, you know, floating between or absence of either or. One more minute. Come back to the memory. Now imposing an awareness of these are seeds ripening, shape shifting. And then let go of the memory and become aware of you, your body, and your room. And add the awareness, this too, seed ripening, shape shifting. And come out a little further as you open your eyes, whatever you see first. Impose the recognition of seeds ripening, shape shifting, and nothing but. So whenever you're ready. What's the difference between an imagined mental image and a real mental image? Let me rephrase it first. What's the difference between the mental image of a thing we imagine and the mental image of a thing that's real? Yeah, Natasha says there's no difference.
Mm.
And you're right, there's no difference. But if we sit into meditation and imagine we have a body made of light, does that mean we have a body made of light? Because it's no different than the mental image of my real body, which is made of flesh and blood. So there has to be some functional difference, or must be some belief that there's a functional difference between a mental image that's imagined and a mental image that we call real. But why is that the case? Because they are both only mental images ripening. So it should be the case that we could have ripening the perception an imagined perception to be as real as a real perception. But to get there, we would have to change our definition of real and change our definition of imagined, wouldn't we? Because just to use the words real versus imagined, we are making a distinction between these two different results. But now, in mind only school, they teach us that there are those three attributes. Right? Buddha says, I'm sorry, did you misunderstand when I said all of those things I taught, they have no nature? Did you misunderstand? I'm so sorry. What I meant was, there are things that are powered by other things, changing things that have their own causes and conditions. They just have no nature of their own. They're not self-existent because they depend upon the power of other things for their existence and what they do. Changing, changing, changing. And then there's the attribute called constructs, kunta, where the mind is the being who's perceiving something is actually thinking they're contacting that other powered thing. But in fact, they are giving that other powered thing its identity and its function and its qualities by taking information and giving it those qualities. And this thing called the construct that the mind of the experiencer comes up with and lays on the object, that construct is complete. It's whole. It actually is not a changing thing. The way the thing that it gets put onto is changing. The construct is made by the mind. And technically, that person, that subject side, whose mind is making the construct, they're actually interacting with their construct, not with the other powered thing. They never actually get to the other powered thing because we're always interacting with these constructs. Now, our mental constructs, they can come up with things that exist, and they can come up with things that don't exist. This is slippery. Meaning, our construct can ripen as some imagined thing. And included in the construct is, oh, that's an imagined thing. Think of Geshel's example, I remember. Think of a 50-ton tomato on the roof of your house. Okay. That's a construct. You just had some mental image of this humongous tomato up on a building. Ridiculous, right? In our reality, there's no such thing. But we can have a mental image of it. But think of an actual tomato on the roof of your house. Right? Different mental image. And with that mental image might be, if I were to say, are you sure there's not a tomato on the roof of your house? We would say, I need to go up and look. Whereas with the 50-ton one, we go, no, I know it's not there. Right? So the function of a construct that's imagined and the function of a construct that we say is real is different. Our reaction to them are different. But are they different? They're both constructs. They both, neither the 50-ton tomato nor the little cherry tomato, have any reality other than our construct of them. Why does one work and the other one doesn't? How is that useful to us? Do they all not work? Or do they all work? Anytime we have a experience, it's a ripening result of some way we planted it. So whether our ripening experience is, egads, 50-ton tomato on the roof of my house, not really, or cherry tomato on the roof of my house, oh, really, how we respond to it is the power that we bring to our understanding of our experience as a mental image. That our experiences as mental images makes things real, whether they are imaginary or real, right? Everything has always been projected reality, and that is reality. And those things that we thought were real because they were in them, from them, there has never been such a thing. So we need to change our definition of real or quit using the word. And every time I say that, I turn around and I'm given a class where I'm saying really all over the place because it's so hard. It's so hard to make this distinction. So then apply that construct, imagined thing, construct, real thing, both constructs either way to the mouse and the leaf, and then apply it to my llama and see how it helps us to understand that however we are perceiving them at the moment, they are always an object towards which we plant our seeds. And if we want our seeds to be planted as powerfully as possible, then we decide that no matter how I've perceived them, I will respond to them as if I had seen them as a perfect holy being. And, we learned do that with one, with whom it seems to come easy. It can be your sutra teacher at start. And then, right, it grows, you meet somebody else, and then maybe they're the one for a while. And we're looking for the one, but right, there's no such the one other than what our seeds are ripening. So our seeds will someday ripen a the one, right? For lama, for relationship, for anything. But only because we've planted the seeds for that special being. And we plant the seeds for the special being by behaving towards somebody as if they're a special being, even if we don't see them that way. And see how dangerous that is. Well, wait, this being I'm planting my seeds as a holy one, they beat me regularly. Yeah, no, that's not right. Run away fast. Does it necessarily mean the theory is wrong? No. It means we're not quite ready, probably. Because if we complain that they beat us regularly, it means we're not understanding. Could we be in a position where they beat us regularly and we enjoy every minute of it? Well, then we wouldn't call it being beat up, would we? Because of the emptiness of things, it's really dangerous. This idea, I will respond to them according to how I want them to be. It's dangerous until we really understand. So you don't just turn it on to anybody at first, right? Until your seeds are so good that you want to. But we have one being, and we work with that one carefully. Which Lama says that is why we can't let ourselves think of our lamas as ordinary. No matter what mistakes they make, no matter how they hurt our feelings, no matter what, when we've made this determination, they're the one, right, that I'm going to work with to see as the angel. We want to be sure to toe the line. If we stop towing the line, will they ditch us? No, absolutely not. Right? But our own mind ditches us, makes it harder and harder. Okay. That wasn't too long extra. So Lama Christie wants us to do that meditation where you logically review to yourself why your Lama is a Buddha. And then this second one, which is exploring the difference between imagined and what we call imagined and what we call real, or what we call memory versus what we call real, current real. Somehow use some tool that you like to investigate how these mental images ripening can still be mental images ripening when it's a mouse and then a leaf. When it's Lama Angel, Lama Jerk. Okay. When it's, I remember them doing that to me. It must have happened that way. Oh, maybe it didn't. Right? That spiritual revisionism can be really helpful. So, however you want to use that second part of the meditation, explore it. So, remember that person we wanted to be able to help at the beginning of class. We have set in motion the end of their suffering, and that's a great, great goodness. So please be happy with yourself and think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy Lama being. See how happy they are with you. Feel your gratitude to them, your devotion to them. Ask them to please, please stay close. Continue to guide you and help you and inspire you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into our hearts. See them there, feel them there. Their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It feels so good, we want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it by the power of the goodness that we've just done. May all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the true ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom may. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person. to share it with every existing being. I forgot to share it with everyone we love. That's in every existing being. See them all filled with loving kindness, filled with wisdom. And may it be so. I made it through class.